This is the Gutsy Health Podcast with Juanique and Tristan Roney. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Gutsy Health Podcast.
Hello.
That's not Tristan's voice.
It certainly is not.
You guys, we have Katie Baker on the podcast today.
Hello.
We have no Tristan, and I know a lot of you guys are groaning because you're stuck with us.
This is true.
Tristan, I mean, we call Tristan the shaman because he's just the all-knowing, he's really brilliant. But so you're stuck with us.
Our conversations are lacking.
I hope not. I actually made notes and bullet points. And as you guys know, Tristan's the bullet point guy. So I've come prepared.
This is good.
So hopefully you guys like it today. But we're talking about infertility.
That's a big one.
It is a big one. And we're going to dive into how we got here, because infertility doesn't just happen overnight.
No, it doesn't.
This is like infertility happens over decades, potentially. It starts from young, starts from like babies even. And we'll explain that to you, how that is a factor. And then it just it snowballs as you age. So yeah, should we just dive right into it?
Yeah.
Should we do like the whole like cheesy chit chat podcast in the beginning? Just kidding.
Right.
We'll just, that always actually drives me nuts when people just chit chat on podcasts. And I'm like, fast forward. Come on, let's go. You guys, let's start with some stats, because stats are fun and sexy. So a rigorous, comprehensive meta-analysis of data collected between 1973 and 2011 found that men from Western countries had a decrease in sperm production of more than 50%, with no evidence of leveling off or improving. 50. Dang. So that was in 2011. It's probably closer to 60 now, 60%.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it.
And like they said, there's no leveling out. Now, women, if you're listening to this, please have, and you are trying to get pregnant, please have your partners listen to.
It takes two to tango.
It does take two. Actually, another stat is 40% of infertility issues is attributed to the men.
Right.
So
it's not just sperm count.
No.
But also the quality. And it can cause miscarriages even.
Exactly. Yep. So you have to be really mindful of the environment of your body, so you actually can, you think about creating healthy cells, right? Well, men have to create healthy sperm. This is the interesting thing with women is and I think this is actually a very beautiful visual, but when let me see if I can get this right. Girl babies, they have all their eggs in them for a period of time. So technically, me carrying Satori, I carried the eggs, the ovum of my grandchildren.
Yep.
Isn't that cool?
It's super, super neat.
So their eggs are developing they are developing as a baby.
Yep.
But when it comes to boys, men, their sperm is produced how often? Daily?
Regenerates depending on how often.
Okay.
How technical do we get on this podcast?
I don't know. Go, Nurse Katie.
Super spicy. I believe it's when you're trying to conceive, they advise not going every 24 hours, but holding out every 48 to 72 hours.
And why is that?
For the vitality and mobility of the sperm. Okay.
Because overproduction of sperm, or?
I think it has to do, honestly, and I'm totally shooting fish in a barrel here. I believe it has to do with the regeneration and then the acidity levels.
Oh, that makes sense.
Being right in the ejaculate.
Gotcha. Okay.
I know. I'm like,
we're like 12-year-old boys talking about sex right now.
Sorry. Well, it's more like I visualize the mom in the minivan listening to the podcast.
And the children are listening. I'm sorry.
So if you're not ready to have that conversation, there you go.
We should have had like a disclaimer. So get your men involved.
It's infertility.
It is
part of it.
Exactly.
Then we're all grown-ups.
Right. But
that are trying
having
to.
Your 4-year-old listen to an infertility podcast, who knows, right?
Okay, you've been warned.
Yeah, there you go. There's your warning. There's your content warning. Okay, so let me go back to statistics, but women, make sure your men are listening too, because a lot of the time, and I see women doing the work hard, right? They show up, they
emotionally invested,
very emotionally invested. They are the ones out there shopping, and they are trying to drag their men into this, and they are very resistant, and they're like, just get me meat and potatoes, and I want bread, and I want my cereal, and da-da-da-da. Men, it's time to put on your big boy pants and realize that you're potentially part of the problem too. Is that mean of me to say?
No, it's honest. It's honest. And if you do have your significant other with you listening, like, you're equally in charge of this.
Yes.
Right? You're equally invested, and the outcome's going to affect everybody either way.
Right.
Baby,
Exactly.
no baby.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
So show up for your significant other and do your work too.
Right.
Okay. 1 in 10 women between the ages of 15 and 44 suffer with POS. I bet that's even higher here in the United States.
Yep. Me. Was diagnosed with PCOS.
How old were you?
When I was diagnosed? 19.
Okay. That's really young.
I
When
believe.
did you start having symptoms though of PCOS?
14,
Okay.
maybe 13 even. I started my menses at 13.
Okay.
So not too early, not too late.
Well, let's tell listeners like how you got there, right? Because your health history is fascinating. Your environmental exposure from that to nutrition. Tell everyone where your breakdown happened.
So I would guess that it probably, I mean, obviously when I was a newborn, right? I probably had the classic American diet. But I mean, a shift in the quality of food for all of us. You know, I was born in 84, so I'm dating myself. But by the time I was developing and hitting puberty, I was on glyphosate.
Glyphosate. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Glyphosate.
know, so
Sorry. We keep saying it wrong. We both have tired mom brains. It's Sunday.
It's been a weekend. But long story short, quality of food, right? Sugar intake.
Yeah.
I would venture to guess, and bad fats.
Well, and you lived near farms, agricultural areas where they were spraying chemicals similar to Agent
Orange, right? Yeah. So elements or ingredients found in this fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides even, were sprayed via airplane.
Yep.
Right. So the crop dusters would come short of the field and like come down and then start spraying prior to the start of the field. And I was one country road, barely 2 lanes, and a small drain off canal that I used to eat fish out of.
Oh my gosh.
Because we'd fish. Yeah, everything. But yeah, I would spray and it would be literally wet on my skin. We would try to beat the crop dusters.
Yeah. Insane.
And you would smell it like even today.
And it would burn you, right?
Yeah, it would burn my lungs.
It's insane.
High incidence of asthma, their birth defects with pregnant moms, like just a lot of different stuff. So
and this is legal. This is legal in America.
It was. I mean, they've tweaked some. There's some stricter laws with crop dusting, but when you live in an agricultural area like that, there's no way to avoid it.
Right.
But it's also like the heart of America, right? Feeding 80-something odd % out of the Imperial Valley in California. They feed America. They're the winter time crop.
Jeez.
So lettuces and all that.
Oh, great.
But yeah,
Awesome.
I was exposed to all that fun stuff.
Yeah. and then on top of nutrition, and then you started getting PCOS, and
it started with indigestion issues. I was in junior high when I was prescribed ulcer medication.
Oh my gosh.
And so it all led down to, after my first baby, hypothyroidism, and then finding out when I went to later to get blood work and found out that I actually have Hashimoto's. So it developed, and so many misdiagnoses. So it's been a long road, super long road.
But you're doing awesome. Like you're seeing tons of improvement.
Insane.
We were just talking about today how Katie, you can never be in the sun. You would just fry after 10 minutes.
Right. And anybody who knows me, like I was raised in a really heavily Hispanic population. So and I'm extremely white and I'm very pale. And so I'd always stand out and get made fun of and stuff. And I was just like, oh, my white skin, I can never tan. And I tried because of the shame,
Yeah.
And then I matured and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
But now, I was trained like, limit your time, right? But it was even so much more than that. I'd
plaster
set
on the sunblock.
I'd set timers to reapply, especially with the kids. Like I just became obsessed with making sure that they're covered.
Yeah. Yep.
And so over this weekend, like we were talking about, I got no sunburn.
And you were at the salt flats out
I was at
all day.
Bonneville for Speed Week.
And if you guys are wondering why this is so impressive, we actually have a podcast episode where we talk about sunlight and how you can help yourself to prevent burning and sensitivity by your nutritional intake.
I'll share a little bit.
So listen to that podcast because we'll move on, but because we're supposed to be talking about infertility.
There.
But listen to that podcast. Listen to our glyphosate podcast episode where we talk about glyphosate and how it literally strips amino acids from your bacteria, which produces amino acids, which are building blocks, right? So listen to those podcast episodes to learn more about how chemicals disrupt your gut biome. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Okay, more statistics, you guys. Reasons for infertility in India. They attribute 45% to unhealthy eating habits. That's India. Can you imagine here in America, like unhealthy capital of the world? It's got to be higher. Right. And so just a disclaimer, this is not a shaming podcast, all right? This is, here's the information. I am not going to shame you out of changing your eating habits.
Right.
Nobody responds well from a point of shame.
Right.
So the more data we can give you guys and having like hard talks, right? Like let's have these hard talks about where we're at and where we need to be.
Well, and some people may have been struggling for a while and they haven't thought of it from this angle. They've just gone off of what they find out. I mean, or what they're told.
Yep, exactly. Really quick, my last statistic, let's see. Birth via assisted reproductive technologies has tripled since 1996. What else has tripled since 96? Uses of glyphosate.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Glyphosate is destroying our gut biome, and we're going to talk about how infertility and gut biome and sex hormone function are all linked together. So let's talk about that right now. So how did we get here? Antibiotic use and glyphosate use. All right. Yep. So there in your gut biome, you have gram positive and gram negative bacteria. And gram positive bacteria, they have this cell membrane that absorbs stuff from their environment very heavily. Right. And so when you take an antibiotic, they're sucking this antibiotic dry and they're dying, right? Whereas gram negative bacteria, they don't absorb quite as much. So you can say, they're more stubborn. And so you can say that they are more antibiotic resistant. Unfortunately for human beings, gram negative bacteria tends to be more unhealthy bacteria. They're more problematic. They need to be kept in their place a lot more by the healthy bacteria.
But more resistant.
They're and so you need a lot of healthy gram-positive bacteria to keep them in their place. I kind of use this visual like, let's say you have a prisoner in a cell, but the cell has no door. So you have like 5 policemen, right? This is like a big prisoner. And you have these 5 policemen. Now, let's say these 5 policemen disappear because of an antibiotic. We're just going to put that out there. Now this prisoner can run rampant, right? And reproduce. Right. So we need the policeman there. We need the gram-positive bacteria there to keep that dude in his place.
Check him.
All right. Yep. To check him. Otherwise, he's just running off. He's running amok, doing whatever he wants. He's procreating. He's very fertile.
For this podcast.
He's very fertile. He loves to grow, and antibiotics don't work on him as well as they do on the good guys. So we have this issue of gut dysbiosis, and another issue of having potentially a proliferation of gram-negative bacteria is gram-negative bacteria have something called lipopolysaccharides in their cell wall, which increases inflammation systematically, right? And it causes the downregulation of hormone enzyme pathways, as well as increases insulin resistance. So let's put a pin in insulin resistance right now, because we need to talk about that very soon when it comes to sex hormones and PCOS and testosterone dominance and all that jazz. So now we have this, now we're being sprayed with glyphosate and our gut biome is all thrown off. And now we have way more gram-negative bacteria floating around, having all of these highly inflammatory lipopolysaccharides, which also they perpetuate leaky gut syndrome, right? So now we have inflammation in the gut. We have inflammation in the brain. We have inflammation everywhere.
Systemic inflammation.
Inflammation isn't selective.
Right.
It just goes everywhere, right?
And our body responds to it.
It absolutely does. And so now we have this hindrance of we're not absorbing our nutrients, which we need to absorb to create hormones.
Super important.
But now we have this downregulation of hormone enzymes, all right? And these pathways, which are just not pathwaying.
Well, it'd be, yeah, I mean, literally, if you got a telephone line and it's frayed,
Yep.
and the ends are barely meeting, it's probably going to be crackly. You know, it's like the communication is just not happening.
Exactly.
Either that or you're just so overridden with inflammation that your brain just isn't responding to signals the right way.
Well, okay. So let's talk about insulin, because with this increase in inflammation from lipopolysaccharides, now we have an increase in cortisol response, because that it's stress on the body, right?
Right.
Cortisol is inflammatory, but not only that, but what's that?
What do we burn through with the cortisol?
Right. And not only that, but cortisol also increases insulin.
Right.
And so insulin's a hormone. And if people, do you want to explain what insulin is? Go ahead.
You're putting me on the spot.
Go, Miss Nurse.
So
did you guys know Katie's a nurse?
I'm a registered nurse. Hello.
Hello.
I do not have a shot for you today. So actually, oh my goodness, it's the islet cells of the pancreas that produce insulin.
Insulin, which is a hormone. Yep.
Which is a hormone. And it's usually in response to the ingestion of sugars, carbs. Different types of sugars, and how carbs further break down to those types of sugars.
Well, and then insulin, think of every single cell in your body, right? Now you have all of this sugar in your bloodstream, and sugar can't stay in your bloodstream, guys. It causes a lot of inflammation, a lot of problems. So now the pancreas creates this hormone called insulin, and think of insulin like, and the cells like a lock and key mechanism. So insulin is the key, and it unlocks the gate of the cells for sugar to go into the cells.
For glycogen. That's the mom brain. Glycogen storms.
Glycogen
stores. Thank you.
So that's glycogen stores for the liver. All right. Like and muscles and stuff.
Respond.
Right. Yes. And so, but specifically for like insulin in the cells themselves, like all body cells, right? If it's not being stored, it's being utilized by the cells.
Right, it's energy.
Right. And so what happens when we have this overproduction of a hormone like insulin, just think of it. If you overproduce one hormone, all the other hormones have to like kind of respond. You know, they all work systematically. They're all kind of communicating with each other, and the brain is inputting all of this data, and it's saying, oh, there's a shift here, so we have to shift all the other ones, right?
Right.
Now, after a while, because Americans love their carbs and Americans love their sugar, or just people in general, because it's the most addicting substance on the planet, you know, now we have this, so now we use our key in the cell walls to unlock it so that sugar can go from the bloodstream into the cell. And guess what? The lock mechanism won't work. And so the key is trying to turn and open the gate. And guess what? Nothing. No response. So now you're swimming in sugar and blood sugar, and it's causing inflammation.
I'm going to say glucose.
Oh, glucose. Okay. Not glycogen.
I'm smirking to myself and not trying to interrupt you because I'm like, oh my gosh.
No, there's too many G's, too many words.
But it's important too.
Yeah.
But for sure. Yes.
And so back to the insulin resistance. Now we have insulin resistance, and insulin resistance leads to PCOS
and all these hormone
and all of these other hormone shiftings, right? So we really need to be mindful of our gut biome. We'll talk about carbs and sugar in a little bit, but we need to be mindful of our gut biome, our antibiotics, our environment that destroys our gut biome, right? Our immune response to that, to our inflammation. I want to talk about, because again, how did we get here? Okay, let's talk about subsidized foods for a second.
Yeah, corn.
Because especially here in America, you know, we have we pay taxes to make junk food cheaper, right? It's this like vicious cycle, and it really sucks because we could be subsidizing like fruits and vegetables that
regenerative farming
practices, and yet we are subsidizing corn for high fructose corn syrup, which is very damaging on the liver, and we're going to talk about why the liver is so important for hormone health and fertility soon. But
it's all hand in hand. I mean, like even the soy crops and then soy being cheaper to produce because we yielded so much with GMO, right? Like
totally.
We overproduced it, and then the government's like, oh yeah, soy is a great source of protein. And then food drug and everybody starts recommending it. And guess what? People are making more money and it's more mass distributed.
Totally.
And consumed.
Right. Exactly. And not only is GMO harder on our guts to digest because it has been modified to be more resistant to pests, but now it's also more resistant to our gut biome.
Right. Which causes more inflammation.
More inflammation. There you go. Which now we have this dysregulation of sex hormone enzymes.
Right. And more insulin resistance.
And more insulin resistance. But now we have highly processed corn, which is like corn syrup. We have highly processed soy. How many people actually eat edamame as soy? That's what soy is.
The whole form.
The whole form.
I bet it's low.
We're drinking soy products.
Right.
Like we're eating soy products, right? It's highly processed.
Yep.
And that's not how that product looks growing in nature.
No, it's not its natural state.
Exactly. Sure. Same thing goes with wheat. Like we talk about wheat a lot, but again, wheat breaks down into sugar. It's highly processed. It's, they use glyphosate actually when they harvest their wheat as a desiccant. So now you are eating sugary food drenched in glyphosate, which is disrupting your biome. It's disrupting your sugar metabolism, potentially leading to insulin resistance. And now we have this, kind of this vicious cycle that we are exposed to from young. Okay.
Right. Because you think of babies and they can't sleep. I think my baby's hungry.
Right.
Right.
And so you add rice to their milk or
rice
something.
Cereals, oat cereals.
Well, let's even go back. Let's talk about baby formula.
Yeah.
Let's go back further. Yeah. Like baby formula. Yep. You guys check out, conventional baby formula. Either the first or the second ingredient is corn syrup.
Yep.
Why do babies need corn syrup? Unless we hate their livers, right? Like what's happening? What is happening in a person who formulates formula and they're like, yeah, corn syrup seems like a really great ingredient to give our children right now.
Because this is naturally found in breast milk.
Right? No, it's not.
Oh, yeah. I was playing.
I know, but I'm like, it's not, you guys. It's absolutely not. I think the first or the second ingredient is like whey protein, and then the next is like corn syrup. And this blows my mind. It's like we should not be giving babies sugar.
No.
All right. In no universe, no dimension, no, I don't know. What are other planes in the
galaxies and beyond?
Right. In no universal whatever should we be giving our children corn syrup as newborns.
I have a fun fact about breast milk.
Oh, tell me.
So a lot of, breast formula. So this is simulated human milk. All right. When you're doing, because I've done some lactation consultants, like I'm a specialist or whatever.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I keep learning new things about you.
Oh, right. Thank you. So no, this is really, really fun side of nursing. So the formula is often referred to as simulated human, breast milk. So it's synthetic, but that's the point, right? It's synthetic. Yeah. So they try to simulate human breast milk. Well, a lot of what's found is like, sugar, and sugar is what makes that what many people think is why babies appear milk drunk or booby drunk. Yeah. Right. And they're not. It's actually cannabinoids.
Oh, cannabinoids?
Cannabinoids. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's the only one of the naturally
it's like calming
found
their
sources.
brain.
Right. So they're actually milk high.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Milk drunk. And it's the same receptor sites that we have as adults, like for CBD oil.
Right.
It's the same sites. And it's also the same sites that synthetic medications like opioids target for the receptors.
Right. So we're getting our babies high when we breastfeed them.
Right.
That's so good. But that makes so much sense too, because like that, I can see how that helps children not develop an overactive brain.
Correct.
Right. It's very anti-inflammatory. It's very non-stimulating. Babies, when they're young, they get overstimulated very quickly. That's why we swaddle them, right?
Right.
That's why we have to keep them still. Otherwise their bodies are just flailing. And the more they flail, the more stimulated and stressed they get. Right. And then stress hormone pumping through them causes all kinds of.
And stress cues are a big thing, because even with breastfeeding, if you go and wait too far to feed, the time of feeding, they can be overly stressed, overly stimulated, and they don't calm down enough. And then it disrupts their digestion system.
Interesting.
And then they're more colicky. Or they take on more air. The latch isn't good enough.
Where were you when I had Tennyson? Right? He was my colicky baby. Where were you?
But we know now, right, that could have started in the womb.
Right, right.
Because of your adrenals, because your adrenals took from Tennyson's adrenals.
Exactly.
As a fetus. So it's just, these are interesting times that we have the science and the technology to even know these things.
That's really cool.
Right.
I swear this is an infertility podcast.
It is.
Because this all matters, you guys.
Does.
Like, infertility doesn't start when you start your period at the age of 12 or 14.
This is true.
It starts when you are being fed corn syrup formula. It starts when your first foods are cereal and Cheerios and you name it. It's some kind of grain sprayed with glyphosate. Right. And now it's you're slowly microdosing on poisonous foods, basically. So, poisonous for your microbiome, poisonous for your hormones. I mean, think about it. Anything that induces a disease is a poison, is toxic, right? It's a toxic substance. Think about it. Cigarettes are regulated, right? Alcohol is regulated. And yet sugar does more damage than both of those combined, not regulated. In fact, we glorify in it. We revel in it. We reward ourselves with it.
And we shame those who don't partake.
Yep. How many of you healthy, crunchy moms have been to a family function and you tell your children, sorry, you can't eat that. And then Aunt Gretel is like, oh, why not? You know, you're like,
you're depriving them.
You're depriving them, right? And it's
they can't be kids.
Exactly. And
it's like, what?
Like, this is how warped our culture is around food, right? I mean, there's probably people listening right now that are just enraged. Like, how can you teach people this? How damning, how damaging, how shaming is this? It's not shame, you guys. We are in massive dysfunction in our society, and something has to give. Things need to change. And it starts from the bottom up. It starts with our cultural shift. Our cultural perception needs to change.
And breaking those generational chains.
Exactly. Those belief systems. And then recognizing this starts from very young. Okay. Very young.
So those moms that are out there that are saying, well, I can't do anything about what I ingested as a baby. Right.
No, you absolutely can't.
So we have to kind of give ourselves grace and say, but I could change now for the future. I can have some time. I'm going to not maybe try for the next few months, and I'm going to get my own house in order. Before, advancing. And that brings us to another exposure, and that's plastics, right? So that's huge. Like, you think about all the food that comes in the plastic packaging. How many people are still microwaving on plastic?
Right. Well, and plastic is an endocrine disruptor.
Right.
Plastic, it's a xenoestrogen. And I'm looking at you all panic, Katie, because I deleted all my notes.
I know, I saw.
They're all gone, so we're going to wing it. So like, plastics are a xenoestrogen. And it's really sad because we store our foods in plastic. We heat it in plastic. Think about even when you go to the store and you hold a receipt and it has BPAs in it, right? Which is a form of plastic. And you touch that and it goes into your skin and it pretends to be a hormone, right? So think of a conductor of an orchestra and he's drunk. All right. This is what we are blasting our systems with when we put on perfumey lotions.
Yeah, the phthalates.
The phthalates, exactly. And what's really sad is we don't see plastic going away, especially here in America, anytime soon.
Nope.
And the reason why is because plastic is formed from crude oil and what else? Do you see my list there?
I'm trying to. I should put me on the spot. I'm not reading it fast.
I'm sorry. So plastics are they're made from natural gases, coal, cellulose, and crude oil. And our country, the United States of America, actually became the number one producers in crude oil. All right. How did we go? I think we were number 3 like 10 years ago. How did we go from number 3 to number 1?
Other than money?
Well, subsidies. We did these subsidies for these companies so that they could produce more oil. We don't see plastic going away anytime soon. All right. So that's our wake up call to be like, you know what? The government probably doesn't have our back in this. They're not going to protect us from it. And I read something the other day where a bunch of scientists came out and said, we support the regulatory agencies and the levels of safety that the government enforces. And I'm like, that's really sad because the FDA is like, they're, what's the word I'm looking for? Their standards are not my standards.
That's
like their level of
PC way of saying that.
What?
That's a politically correct.
Yes,
way of
exactly. Their
that.
standard is just not mine. Okay.
Right.
So we have to recognize that unfortunately, there are political issues happening here where capitalism is at the forefront before public health.
Right.
And we just kind of have to realize, okay, I need to make these changes myself.
Right. You need to advocate for yourself.
I need to advocate for myself.
Children.
Exactly. Get rid of the plastics because they're not going away.
Nope. No, I mean, compared to, we were watching that documentary, Zac Efron.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like Iceland.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like 0.3. Like they're producing, production
plastic.
of like, or crude oil.
Crude
like
oil.
they're
Oh,
not
it's
doing
nothing.
anything. It's all renewable.
All renewable energy. They all have like these electric cars. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It really
and
is.
here's America taxing us for driving electric cars. Do you know I pay more taxes for my electric car than people do for their gas car?
Yep.
Which, that tells me, oh, I see where your priorities lie, government. Okay,
Right.
Cool. I see you.
Well, and many people that can't bank power either. Like some people that have Teslas have charging banks and they can't bank and use their own energy that was
What?
actually produced by the cars themselves, and they produce energy from even solar to these home banks, but they can't use it for their house.
Oh my
They
gosh.
can actually get in trouble.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's like people that get, well, I'll just put it lightly, legal actions for collecting rainwater.
Yeah, right.
It's like, are you serious?
We live in the upside down. We really do. Like, it
Right.
makes no sense to me.
So speaking of water, that's another big one.
Yep.
Water, nutrition.
So, as talking about other endocrine disruptors, I mean, if you like your thyroid, don't drink city water because they drench it in chlorine, fluoride, other
Additives,
chemicals.
right.
Whereas in other countries, they use ozone and UV light.
Right.
We use chemicals.
Right.
Like, and so
It's just nuts.
it's really insane. It's really sad. And again, getting filters for your homes, if you do have reverse osmosis, people, please, please, please put minerals back in it.
Yep.
Do you want to share quickly the case of the family that came in and all of the children were depleted in their minerals with their hair analysis. And when I looked at it, I was like, do they have RO? And then when you looked at it, you were like, do they have RO? And even when Bailey looked at it, she was like, do they have RO?
Yep.
And they do, huh?
like the most common thread, right, that we see.
Like,
I mean, obviously there's digestion, but
Right.
water.
water.
When we see minerals, I mean, it just affects
Everything.
just everything. Yep.
Minerals are like the electricity in your body.
Yep.
Right. And so when we have these chemicals, or I mean, when we have RO, that's a problem. But if we're drinking city water, we need to just be really mindful that
Right.
we're filtering out all the
Right.
junk.
And be
okay?
mindful that if it says purified, it's usually municipal water, which is city water that's been put through an RO system.
Right.
It's purified water.
So mineralize it.
Yep. Look at your water bottles. Be
Yep.
like, from the city of industry.
Right. And going back to our children, are our children drinking out of plastic bottles that have been heated? Are they getting plastics in their system?
And
think of your babies. You're loading, you're warming up breast milk in bottles and they're being exposed to xenoestrogens,
Well,
right?
it starts before that, even not the breast milk, what the mom consumes, right? If the mom's
Oh, yeah.
water and the breast milk. So then let's further that into formula. The formula is done with gallon jugs of nursery water, or you're doing what you think is the best. I'm not shaming.
Yep.
Okay. I'm just putting this out there. We do the best we can with the information
With
we
what
have
we
at
know.
the time.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so there's no going back. However, for you moms that are trying down this fertility road, or going through this time, just be aware plastics are a big deal. And it's not just from when you get the jugs or the water bottles and you're storing. Oh, well, I don't store it in heat.
Right.
Right. But I guarantee you, because I'm not an exception to this, I have drank out of water bottles that I've left in my vehicle in the summer.
Right.
It's hot. And never in my life did I ever think about the disruptors in that water
Right.
as I was drinking it.
Or think about bottled water that you buy from Costco.
It's been stored.
Well, how many hot trucks has it been on?
Right. Exactly.
We don't know.
We don't know what the handling was. We don't know how long it sat.
Right. We know that plastic leaches into your water even without heat, and with heat it's even more.
Yep, it intensifies it.
Right. So that's why drinking out of glass, drinking out of stainless steel, get your children each their own stainless steel bottle. It will last forever. You can clean that baby over and over and over, and just make sure that you are giving them their superior minerals,
Right.
And they're really, really clean water. All right. Like give your babies a chance. Right.
Right.
Like
If that's
start
the least.
Yeah.
Right. Just that doesn't cost anything to throw out that plastic.
Right. Or recycle it.
Yeah.
Just recycle
Good
that.
point.
Right. All right. I don't have my bullet points, but I think we've what other environmental things? I mean, we've spoken about most of them. Stress is another one when it comes to sex hormones, female hormones, stress. Okay, so let's talk about adrenals really fast. We'll come back to adrenals, but we all know that this stress hormone is cortisol, right?
Culprit. Yep.
Yep. And now there is this other hormone called DHEA. Now, cortisol and DHEA are both produced in a gland that sits above your kidneys called the adrenal glands. All right. Now, the adrenal glands will pump out cortisol when you're stressed, and it'll pump out DHEA, as DHEA is the backbone, or it's the precursor to progesterone, testosterone, and your estrogen hormones. Okay. So you need DHEA to produce these hormones. And just to back that up a little bit, DHEA is created from cholesterol, right? How much do we demonize cholesterol, right? When I tell you eat more saturated fats, people are like cringing. They're like, no. Right. Well, that's because of really bad programming over the past 50 years on horrible science. And now the medical industry just pumps out statins like crazy, right? Destroying livers, destroying cholesterol left, right, and center. And now we have sex hormone issues. Right. Back to the adrenal glands pumping out cortisol and DHEA. So when we are highly stressed, and we're pumping out cortisol, sometimes the adrenals will hijack this DHEA and convert it to cortisol. So if you're hijacking the precursor to your sex hormones to create stress hormone, guess what? You're producing less sex hormones. Right. All right. So be very mindful of your stress. Some self-care is very, very important. Right. You want to make sure that you're sleeping for one, get at least 8 hours of sleep. You are being mindful, you're exercising, because that can help with stress management. Right. That can also help with insulin resistance and sugar metabolism issues.
Well, let's think about these couples too, waiting for that positive test.
Oh, the stress. Right? Oh my gosh. That's very stressful. Yep. Right. So these are how we got here, you guys. We've kind of created a very long story about oh man, this sucks. Right. We've been put in these environments and we had no idea. And when your 12-year-old or your 14-year-old is having menstrual issues, PMS,
what happens now?
Look back.
Look back to what she's been.
Of what?
Of these 12, 14-year-olds with horrible period-related symptoms. They're getting prescribed pills.
Birth control. Exactly.
They're getting put on synthetic hormones during their development.
Right.
Their biggest season of life.
Oh my gosh. And let's not even talk about what the pill does to your gut biome. Right. Because it's bad. Let me just tell you that. It's bad. We'll talk about, it causes more proliferation of candida. Candida albicans, but it destroys your gut biome, and so
which feed off sugar, so makes you want to eat more sugar.
Exactly. So now you're eating more carbs,
right?
Now you're getting more insulin resistance, right? So we've painted this really horrible picture, and it's now what do we do? I promise you, there's hope, there's healing. Okay, there's so much healing. Dr. Rhonda Nelson, she spoke with our Gutsy Health members, and she told us, she shared with us during a live Q&A with her, that 20 years ago, she could heal 19 out of 20 couples dealing with infertility.
It was fun.
And it was really fun for her. She loved it, right? She's saying nowadays it's closer to 6 or 7 out of 20. And she thinks it's our environment. She thinks it's our stress. All right. But so what we want to talk about now is okay, let's take a step back. Let's look at what we can do, because there's so much we can do. And the first thing I want to touch on is nutrition. All right. Nutrition, you guys, is very, very important, because chances are, if you are dealing with sex hormone issues, you are dealing with insulin resistance issues, you're dealing with all kinds of things that have to do with blood glucose. All right. So what you need to do is cut the carbs.
Right.
All right. Cut the carbs, and cut back significantly. Other things too, you want to increase your protein intake, healthy proteins, non-inflammatory proteins from like factory farmed meats. Right. All right. Collagen is fantastic for healing the gut. And then you want to eat healthy fats. All right. So my favorites are coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, red palm that is unrefined and is ethically sourced. There's one other one I am missing, but I think those are my 4 favorites.
Like a grass-fed butter.
Oh, grass-fed butter. If you can do dairy.
Arachidonic acid.
Yes. Ghee. Ghee is clarified butter. So if you have lactose issues, do some ghee. Those
organic grass-fed ghee.
Exactly. And then, like I said, going to our proteins, like getting highly absorbable forms of proteins, animal protein, beef, chicken, turkey, obviously try to get, pasture raised, that kind of stuff. So eating highly nutritious foods, like really good proteins from good farmed sources is really important because remember, friends, like you are what your food eats too.
Right.
So if your food's eating inflammatory foods, they are going to have inflammatory omega profiles.
Right.
And so now you're eating high omega-6s, low omega-3 meats, and you are potentially aggravating more inflammation. So another thing is, let's talk about the sugar metabolism. Let's hit this hard because you ladies with PCOS, insulin resistance, you're on metformin. Here's the thing. Here's the deal. 10 carbs to my body is 10 carbs to my body.
Right.
10 carbs to someone dealing with PCOS registers more like 60 grams, like 10, I mean 10 grams of carbs, right?
Grams.
And now 60 grams of carbs, so that 10 grams of carbs to your body with PCOS registers as 60 grams of carbs.
Right.
All right. It's not the same. All right. It's not A plus B equals C. It's A plus B equals Z, 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 Z.
Right.
All right. And so you have to just really ring that in. And unfortunately, and I love how Rhonda calls it food prison, you have to be in food prison for a little bit until the dysfunction is fixed. And it can be fixed. And so some ways to help retrain your body to become more insulin or less insulin resistant is do some intermittent fasting or some fasting just in general. Cut back on your carbs significantly. So do more complex carbs from vegetables, obviously increase your fats, increase your proteins.
Right. So we're running off the programmed course of sugar and carbs from our childhood, right? Grains and the sugars.
Or the standard American diet.
The standard American diet, to be more correct to current day terms, and into a high protein, healthy fat metabolism.
Lots of vegetables, tons and tons of vegetables.
Carbs, right.
Now this kills like 10 birds with one stone because not only does this diet help decrease inflammation, but it also helps with your microbiome. Right. So what you feed breeds. So if you're feeding your good biome, good fiber, soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, it's going to grow and proliferate as such. When you feed your biome sugar and processed foods, bad bacteria is going to grow. All right. So unfortunately, we're going to even have to like be more in food prison when it comes to PCOS because things like sweet potatoes, carrots, beets, those are still a little bit sugary and starchy.
Or
so
cassava flour,
for instance, even healthy almond flour tortillas, they're going to be very carby for you. So you're going to have to cut back and go more for like avocados and hemp seeds.
Right. And sweets won't even be maple syrup and honey.
You can't even touch those, unfortunately.
Monk fruit sweeteners are great. Like the Canto maple syrup is awesome.
You need to be mindful of the sugar alcohols though.
Right. Because they will still spike insulin response.
They can actually cause dysbiosis. Because of the alcohol, because of the sugar alcohol. So they can cause disruption and the runs. And so I would even, good, better, best, right? You guys need to gauge your own health journeys and be like, what can I do? Right.
Well, this most definitely doesn't look like sucralose.
No. We're not looking at sucralose or maltodextrin.
Don't do those.
Exactly. Cut those out completely.
Because let's think whole food, non-synthetic.
Right.
Okay. Diet and supplements, whole food, non-synthetic.
Exactly. Let it come from foods. Okay.
And when we're looking at nutrition, how many vegetables are we looking at? Like 7 to 10 servings a day?
I would say like 8 to 12.
8 to 12.
Especially because they're cutting back on carbs a ton. Right. They're going to have to heavily rely on complex carbs. And the complex carbs are like broccoli, cauliflower, onions are a little bit more carby. Right. But like asparagus, zucchini, you name it, right? Leafy greens, lots of leafy greens.
And this isn't, I'm just going to grab a pack of baby carrots and hummus because most hummuses are
very carby.
They're carby. They're laden with glyphosate. They are usually mixed with bad oils. Right. Like we need to start reading labels and looking at our foods.
Well, and unfortunately, again, with my PCOS friends, like eating beans are very carby. Yep. All right. So you're just going to have to be really, really mindful. And like I said, food prison, short term. Right. Just be
gains.
long-term gains, like fix that insulin resistance, become insulin sensitive again.
Well, it sounds like those green smoothies are on the menu then.
Yes. Minus the fruits, right? Like you can cut out the fruits, add the lemon, add the ginger, bone broth, collagen powder. Yes. I mean, do the green smoothies, but lots of leafy greens. I even say like steam some broccoli and cauliflower. I mean, sulforaphane, guys. You want like healthy hormones, get more sulforaphane. And so steam broccoli and cauliflower, freeze it, and then throw in like a cup a day into your smoothie and just drink that down.
Of olive oil.
Yes. And then throw in that bone broth collagen from Paleo Valley. Yes. It's so good. Oh my gosh, you guys, I've had so many messages of like, I've tried so many bone broths and this is the first time I've noticed my hair and my skin and my nails getting better.
Well, and I think a lot of that is too, if you read the labels, the collagen comes from like the hide of the animal. Right. And it's not actually coming from the bones. From the bones.
Right. Well, and another thing with Paleo Valley is they actually source their bones from a farm in Germany because they couldn't find any. I love it.
It's so beautiful.
Well, Autumn Smith, who's the owner of Paleo Valley, she was like, I couldn't find any sources here in America that met our standards. So I love that. Love it. If you go to paleovalley.com, you can use the discount code ProvaHealth10 to get 10% off your Paleo Valley bone broth. Also,
meat
ladies, get your meat sticks. Okay. Instead of going for like a granola bar, go for a beef stick bar. Okay. Or a turkey stick bar. They're really yummy.
So good.
You know, and just load up on your protein. All right. Decrease the carbs because again, healthy snacks are still very carby. All right. And we're really heavily hitting insulin resistance here. Okay.
Right.
We're trying to reverse that so that we can stop overproducing insulin, like decrease that inflammation of the glucose in your bloodstream.
Right.
And then all the other hormones can shift and change. Okay. Next, you can exercise to help with the balancing of your sugar metabolism and decrease your inflammation too. So that's a good one.
But we're not talking to go out.
Oh, and
slam your body
for like 2 hours a day. No. Right. Something.
We're not doing a competition every day.
Because if you have adrenal fatigue, which we'll talk about soon, like you might be making
you're perpetuating
the issue. Yeah. Exactly. So just be really mindful and
compounding.
If you're just exhausted and it takes you several days to recover, you're hitting too hard. All right. Your body isn't, and we're going to talk about digestion right now, actually.
Right.
Because this is the next part of healing is you can't heal if you're not absorbing and you're not absorbing if you're not digesting. So you digest to absorb and you absorb to heal. All right. So if you're not healing, you're not digesting and absorbing well. Okay. So most of my people, if you haven't done the baking soda test, please do it. Yep. Please do the baking soda test. First thing in the morning, half a cup of water, quarter teaspoon baking soda, chug it on an empty stomach, time yourself. If you are belching in 2 to 3 minutes, chances are you have enough hydrochloric acid. Belch, not tiny burp, not little air bubble. No. Like not Homer Simpson.
No, but it's not also like, oh, I have a little indigestion.
Right. Boop. Yep. You want to impress yourself.
Right.
And so if when you do this belch within 2 to 3 minutes, you probably have enough hydrochloric acid. Stop timing yourself at 5 minutes. You failed the baking soda test.
Or you're just a no burp.
Or just no burp. Right. Exactly. Right. We have to make sure, guys, that you have enough hydrochloric acid to help with protein synthesis, to help with the release of intrinsic factors so you can digest your B or absorb your B vitamins. But everything starts with the stomach. And unfortunately, mainstream medicine, what do when you have indigestion? They put you on a PPI, all right? A proton pump inhibitor, which decreases your hydrochloric acid even more. There's a reason why I call hydrochloric acid the holy grail to digestion, all right? There are so many functions that hydrochloric acid has. It's the first domino to hit all the other dominoes in this like chemical reaction.
Right.
Like if you have a robust release of hydrochloric acid, then you are releasing cholecystokinin, you're releasing secretin.
Your gallbladder's jumping in.
Yes. And now your liver's creating, what's the thing I'm thinking of? It's bile.
Well, it's bile from
Why
the
can't
gallbladder.
I think of, and then it stores in the gallbladder, right? And then the gallbladder contracts because of that cholecystokinin hormone. Not only that, but hydrochloric acid, I couldn't think of the word bile. Isn't that sad?
It's
oh my gosh. Mom brain we're here. We showed up. We showed up.
Our audience is non-judgmental, right?
I hope so. Don't read the reviews.
Yeah, we just don't read the comments. It's fine.
Not only that, but hydrochloric acid, it also triggers the pancreas to release a robust amount of digestive enzymes.
Right.
So when we are stressed, guess what? Hydrochloric acid production goes down. When we are inflamed, hydrochloric acid production goes down.
So what would symptoms of low HCl look like?
Bloat and gassiness. That's the biggest one. Really tired after done eating. Heartburn is a really big one too.
Well, that's a huge one. So then when I say I have heartburn, what do I do? What's the standard American response?
So you want to take Zypan. You want to take
Tums.
Not Tums. Please don't take Tums, guys. You want to take HCl. You want to take hydrochloric acid. Not all hydrochloric acids are created equal, but please start dosing nice and slow with the hydrochloric acid. If you take hydrochloric acid and your stomach is burning, you have an ulcer. So you got to heal that baby up. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So ulcers develop after chronic stress, where hydrochloric acid production is actually decreased so much that H. pylori comes out to play.
Takes over, yeah.
And H. pylori causes ulcers.
So how do you heal ulcers? Long story short.
So we'll talk about that another time, because
that's a whole nother podcast.
There's so many protocols. This is why people come to us, right?
Yep.
Because not everyone's protocol is the same.
Well, and that is a straightforward response. It's individual.
It is individual.
Schedule.
Unfortunately,
schedule
that's
a consult.
Right. Exactly. Come do a hair analysis, do some blood work, or just schedule a 1-hour consult.
Right.
But unfortunately, we can't, it's not all roads.
Well, and it's not all that easy too. Right.
But start researching hydrochloric acid digestion, you guys. It's so, so important.
So I like your analogy though. You've used it in the office, in the clinic.
Which one?
The bouncer.
Oh, with hydrochloric acid. Yeah. So hydrochloric acid is the bouncer to the nightclub.
Right. When
When you take away the bouncer, it's free for all.
Right.
And then H. pylori comes and he's just partying out.
The thugs are coming in.
He's partying it up in the club. he's being inappropriate with all the customers, causing all kinds of issues. So you got to bring that bouncer back.
Yeah.
Okay. But you also got to heal that gut lining.
And that further aids in absorption. Right.
Yep. Exactly.
But if our gut is not in order, then no amount of we just can't absorb.
Exactly. You can't. And everyone's like, well, what the heck does the gut have to do with hormones? Everything. How the heck do you create hormones out of nothing?
Yep.
All right. You got to absorb your fats and your proteins to produce hormones. All right. Remember, DHEA, the precursor to sex hormones, it's cholesterol. All right. If you are not absorbing your cholesterol, you're not producing sex hormones. All right. It's not happening. And a lot of people say, and this is going to be a great lead into what you need to do next to fix your hormones. A lot of people say that, well, your liver creates cholesterol. Yeah. In a perfect world, if we were in a world with no chemicals and no toxins and no xenoestrogens, absolutely your liver would produce cholesterol. But guess what? When it's overburdened, it does not. Nope. Okay. So that takes us to fix your liver. We did an entire podcast episode on fixing your liver about 2 weeks ago.
So good.
You guys, please listen to it and then go to gutsy.ch/liver and do the liver reset ASAP. Don't even hesitate. Don't think, well, this might be a bad idea. No.
500 functions.
The liver has 500 functions. Okay. Right. One of those functions is the biosynthesis of hormones. What the heck does that mean? Well, hormones form, they go to the liver and they form even more.
Right.
All right. The liver says, oh, you need to be this estrogen and you need to be that estrogen and you need to be this progesterone. Right. The liver is it's a massive part of making sure your hormones are converting. We always talk about hormone conversion, right? And if we have the wrong estrogens converting in the wrong ratios, we got inflammation. Right. We're more prone to breast cancer, right?
Yeah.
The liver, talk about massive conductors, right? The liver can't be a drunk conductor, guys. We can't afford it because that's when dysfunction and dis-ease start setting in. Right. So give your liver some love, listen to the liver reset program and reset your liver. Okay. We can't heal a body with a sick liver. Now, are we talking full-blown cirrhosis? Are we talking full-blown non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? Yeah. No, we're not. There is a spectrum, right? And unfortunately in the medical realm, you only have a liver issue when you have cirrhosis or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or alcoholic fatty liver disease, right?
Right.
When your liver is literally diseased, now there's a problem. Okay. So that's like a full-blown 10.
Right.
What about like 0 to 9?
Right.
All right. What if you are sitting at a 5, but your AST and your ALT are not elevated, right? Your liver enzymes are not elevated.
Yeah, normal.
Right.
Standard.
You look normal, but there's dysfunction. Actually, this happened in a blood chem that I did earlier this week where her adrenal function looked totally normal. And according to her enzymes, her liver enzymes, everything looked normal. But guess what? She's pounding vitamin D and it's super low. Right. And she had like literally no progesterone, no testosterone, no estrogen.
Wow.
And so I'm seeing, and guess where vitamin D gets converted? In the liver.
In the liver.
Right. And get this, she had tons of cholesterol, tons. So we're not lacking cholesterol. We're not lacking the substance to produce. We're lacking the conversion. Right. So her DHEA is low. All right. Her sex hormones are low, but she's got cholesterol. So cholesterol has to go into the liver, has to be synthesized. DHEA has to go into the liver and be synthesized into other hormones. So vitamin D has to be converted to cholecalciferol, in order to be used.
You're
and guess
so
what?
smart.
No, I'm not. I'm really not.
Yes, you are. Everyone's shaking their head.
Like the liver has to work in order for your body to work, guys. Please don't hesitate. Just do the liver reset. Okay. Gutsy.ch/liver. You might even have to do it like back to back for some people.
It might be.
Have you seen the comments where people are recording their results with the liver reset week 1? Isn't it so exciting?
In our membership in the Gutsy
it's
membership.
So people are like losing weight. People are miserable for the first 5 days. And then like eczema's gone completely.
Right. 5.5 pounds.
In a week, right?
And then she's like, day 3, the rash. And then she's like, overnight gone.
Yeah. She was complaining her eczema exploded.
Elbow or something like that.
So her eczema got worse, right?
Right.
And then day 5, overnight, the eczema was like gone completely.
It's insane.
It was amazing. And what did everyone tell her? We were like, just keep pushing. Just keep going.
Good job pushing through.
Yes, right? Like just like, and what I tell my members when it's like the first week is hard, I'm like, just keep going.
Right.
And there's been some funky things that have been happening. I had someone say like her teeth went yellow.
Right.
I'm like, whoa, what do you have in your mouth? Right. What are the things coming out of our mouths? Right.
Oh,
Tristan, one day, his whole tongue was all white, like just tons of fungus on his tongue.
On the reset?
On his tongue. Yeah. On the liver reset.
Goodness.
But this is really interesting too, because we did his labs before the liver reset and right after. All of his liver enzymes, you guys, came down significantly. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so great.
Proof is in the pudding.
It was like, we actually did blood work to track this. It looked really, really great. And so we were like, heck yes, we'll take that. So anyways, liver. If you want happy hormones, you got, and here's another thing too. When we are bombarded with estrogen, right? Like we got to like get rid of that. Right. So liver reset. Okay. And make sure you're pooping too.
Well, and bombarded with testosterone for all you PCOSers. Like,
right.
I mean, it's your ovaries that are taking a role in that too.
Exactly.
But it's not just your ovaries. Everyone thinks, oh, they're enlarged and my follicles can't come out. It's like, well, what's affecting the ovaries?
Right.
Your liver plays a big role in that.
Massive role.
So like that's what we're saying. Take the information, start researching for yourself. Don't just take, the word for it. This is information, hopefully, that triggers, plants those seeds.
Well, think of the ovaries, kind of like a marathon, but the ovaries are the finish line.
Yeah.
They weren't the race.
No.
So if you're not crossing the finish line, you got lost in the race course somewhere, right? That's the same thing with your hormones. The ovaries are not dysfunctional. You got to look upstream. All right. And that's what we're talking about. Like upstream is gut.
Well, and then your mouth.
Upstream is why?
Your mouth, what you're taking in.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Right.
Right.
Like, so look upstream, look at your digestion, look at your liver, fix them. All right. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about adrenals. So adrenals are really, yes, adrenals are next because if you have sex, and this is a direct quote from Dr. Rhonda, if you have a sex hormone disorder, you have an adrenal disorder.
Yep.
All right. So what do we do? You stop stressing.
Right. Stop stressing. Which is, come on. Really though.
I know.
I love you all that are trying right now. I wish I can give you all a big, huge hug because you're all stressed.
Right.
To some level, this is
even if you're not trying for a baby, even if you have like
just
PMS.
purely PMSing, right? Like, but maybe you have future hopes for a baby because I was robbed of that dream. I was told I would never have children.
And I have 6.
I have 6. It's possible. I have a set of triplets mixed in there. They're 5 now. And guess what? I conceived them while starting a new workout regime. Cool. And I had changed my diet to more of a paleo based, and it was a complete 180 from my standard American diet. And I think that it just shifted things just enough to go like, pew, pew, pew. Here's some eggs.
I dropped like 3 eggs at the same time.
And I had
release me.
Oh, you want to eat healthy and treat my body right? Here you go. Here's a present.
Right.
No, we're not endorsing that. If you follow this, you'll get multiples, but it's possible.
So I think that's such a great story. But back to the adrenals, you guys. Okay, so
stress.
Adrenals suck because unfortunately there is, we live in a really high stress society, and not only that, and this is one of those things before I go into this, and I even hesitate sharing it because I don't want to cause anxiety. All right. Okay. Moms, let's have a talk right now. Okay. No shame. All right. Do not beat yourself up for this. You have done the best you can. Okay. So what was explained to us by Dr. Rhonda in this live was, when we are pregnant and we're stressed, we rob from our children's adrenals. Right. Okay. So when they're born, they are almost born automatically with adrenal insufficiency.
Right.
And we see this throughout their childhood where they have an inability. It's so either they're colicky or they're overstimulated. How many children are born with sensory overload?
Yep.
Right?
I have one.
And I do too.
Well, multiple, but probably one, our biggest. Yeah.
And they can't even make simple decisions like, do you want to eat an apple or a banana? And they melt down and they're like, I don't know what you want from me. And now moms, we're melting down because our adrenals are on fire too. And I'm like, I just want you to eat, right? Like just eat the food. We have like, and what's interesting too, is I'm picking this up in the hair analyses too. And I couldn't understand why children's adrenals and their hormones kept showing up in the hair analyses. Right. And so when Dr. Rhonda explained this, I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. So much sense, right? Where they are being born into adrenal insufficiency. You know, back in the day, in like tribal settings, pregnant women, they were treated like freaking goddesses, right? No, we're not. We're expected to raise children and homeschool and be super moms and super Instagrammers and keep up with the Joneses and cook 3 meals a day and do the taxes and
decorate and decorate.
Yeah.
Get enough sleep and drink enough water and exercise.
And hold your calling. If you're in church, you know, you have like a calling where you have to prepare lessons.
Or PTA or whatever it is.
Whatever it is, like we are slightly overburdened. And I think that's an understatement. We're very overburdened.
And the men too. Let's think about it's not just the woman's role, like we mentioned. So our children are being born into stress-filled societies, and their adrenals are already insufficient. And homes, right? Exactly. Or school, like the demands of school, right? Yeah, they're insane.
And not only that, but if your kids are like trying out for sports teams, the standard gets higher and higher every year. Right. You have to score more, run faster, be better,
time better.
Lift heavier. You know, we're reaching these unrealistic expectations and we're meeting them, but it's coming at the price of our adrenals, right? So things that we can do for that, you guys. One, stop demonizing salt. Our adrenals need salt when we are stressed. They need potassium. So eat a lot of potassium, lots of veggies, lots of fish, bananas, coconut. Well, you can't do coconut water because it's very sugary. Vitamin C. All right. Not ascorbic acid, but whole food vitamin C. So there is, if you go to provahealth.com, there is a product called Adrenal Cocktail, because there's an adrenal tonic and there's an adrenal cocktail. Look up adrenal cocktail and order it. Okay. It's got the perfect ratios of salt, potassium, and vitamin C. All right. And you're going to take that at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. when you start feeling tired to feed your adrenals. Okay. There's a whole adrenal protocol that we have that I'm not going to talk about right now because we are running out of time. But please, guys, like, eat your salt, eat your potassium, get vitamin C. All right. Another thing, adaptogens. So one of my favorite things, if you go to provahealth.com, look up the Rasa, R-A-S-A. So they're adaptogenic mushrooms. And what they do is they help your body adapt to stress. So you want to do more mushrooms. Okay. Research adaptogens, anything that can help calm you.
Right. Ashwagandha is also in the Rasa
Mm-hmm,
So that's
exactly.
another big one.
It's got a lot of incredible things. Last but not least, if we are suspecting brain inflammation too and brain overstimulation in regards to adrenals, CBD.
Yep.
So if you go to wasatchherbals.com, the CBD there is fan-freaking-tastic. Wasatch Herbals is actually our company that we started because not only is quality very important to us and extraction processes, but it has to be organic too.
Well, and you test, and
it came back better than what the company told us.
Because I've tried other CBD oils, and I don't own any part, so I'm I'm a third. Like, I'm outside of that. I'm not profiting off of my statement, but I've tried other CBD oils.
It's awesome,
and this one just doesn't compare. Others don't compare to right. So I would do like full droppers of others, and I could never really reach a threshold. But with these, I was able to. So
I can't. Like, I get so many people saying, "What do you do to this?"
Right.
And we're like, it's just really, it's extracted very intelligently. It's a patented.
Chants over it. The bottles.
We pray and we use crystals and do ceremonies.
Full moons. No, none of that.
Oh my gosh, we do seed cycling with the hemp. Just kidding.
And they only plant in the moonlight.
I know.
Like, I don't know. Whatever it is, I'll take it because it's great.
Drumming circles. Just kidding. So
That's
it's really great, you guys.
podcast.
So wasatchherbals.com. That's our CBD. Start taking it. I have so many moms that message me and they're like, I'm a better mom because of the CBD.
Right.
I'm like, you're welcome.
You're like midday.
Yep. And guess what? I give it to my kids when Tennyson is losing, because when he's like insane, when he's gone out and eaten junk food and he comes home and
they're on fire.
His brain is on fire. And I'm like, come here, take your CBD. My kids actually beg for it. I think it doesn't taste good at all.
No.
And they freaking love the
Little
taste.
Weirdos.
They're so weird.
I
They're
say that because
so
my kids
weird.
do the same thing.
I'm like, this stuff tastes disgusting.
Right?
And they're like, can I have some more? I'm like, sure.
Right. And then you try it, you're like, I smell like flour. Like my breath.
Right. It's so nasty, but it's so good.
Yeah.
And we don't put any artificial sweeteners in it. So don't worry about your blood glucose.
And the oil, the carrier that it's in.
MCT. It's so clean. So anyways, okay. So adrenals, we have adaptogens, we have salt, potassium, vitamin C, we have stress management and yoga and exercise, burn off that excess cortisol, right? Last but not least, that's when we get to sex hormones and HPA axis. All right. Axis. Access. It's like Hollywood access.
Yeah.
We're in the brain access mode. So the HPA axis is hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. Or did I say that right?
Star. Yeah.
Did I say that right?
It sounded right.
Okay. Someone's going to fact check me and be like, you sound dumb.
That's fine. They can do that.
We'll just call it HPA axis. And basically what this is it's the brain is the thermostat in the body, right?
Right.
And if you have brain inflammation, your thermostat is cattywampus. So we've fixed digestion. We've fixed gut, because your gut is the second brain, or really it's the first brain, and your brain's the second brain. But leaky gut, leaky brain, right? We have fixed adrenals, and now maybe we need to really hone in on, and adrenals too help with the ovaries. If the ovaries are tanking, adrenals take over. Yep. Right. If adrenals are tanking, ovaries take over. Right. But now we have to go to, okay, what protocols do we need to hit hard? This is when we get very specific with our protocols. We'll do like some blood work, and we'll be like, oh, okay. And we can't just willy-nilly this, right? This is where we have to get really specific.
And they need to do the work.
And they have to do the work. But they've already done the work to this point, right? Because your nutrition is on par.
We dialed it down.
Your nutrition is on par. You've done the liver reset once, if not twice. We have supported your adrenals, and now you're getting energy. Yep. You've detoxed. We've put you on an adrenal protocol,
right?
Because there's a very extensive adrenal protocol that I put people on. And now we go to HPA axis, or we do like a hormone feeding, adrenal feeding, because maybe there's inflammation in your sex hormones.
Bathe those puppies.
And so obviously we're not going to talk extensively about those protocols, because that obviously requires more consultation, but you guys can still hit upstream really hard. And the majority of people will see really great results.
What's a realistic timeline for this? Because this is not overnight, and it's individual. Like because this could be years for somebody.
Oh, geez, yeah.
But like you said right now, this has been after many steps that we've reached this point of the HPA.
So we will probably meet this point in about 6 to 12 months. Yep. And most people are sick. Some people don't. Some people it takes a year to fix their gut. If we're
18
dealing,
months, yeah.
if we're dealing with SIBO, if we're dealing with Lyme, if we're dealing with IBS, IBD, Crohn's,
And we're talking years that you've been deceased, you know, like let's really think about that. So it's not going to be overnight. It's just like after you have a baby, you'll soon discover that you don't bounce right back. And you got to give your body grace to transform like it did to grow a baby.
Right. If you're going to heal naturally, you have to heal on Mother Nature's timeline too.
And she's gentle.
She is. And I, oh my gosh, I did this follow up with one of our clients, and she's been working with us, I think for like 3 or 6 months. No, not 6 months. It's been like 4 months.
Okay.
And she's one of these people that has bounced around from doctor to doctor to doctor, right? And they just like pounded her with supplements and whatnot, and she would get better for a little bit and then tank again, and then better for a little bit. Which is
common.
Very common, the medical merry-go-round, right? And since she's been working with us, and she's got energy for the first time in years. and she's like, I only take my adrenal protocol stuff when I need. And I'm like, excuse me, when you need? She's like, yeah, I have energy like every day now. And I'm like, you do? You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. This was, well, she did the homework. She joined the membership. She does the meal plans.
Right.
You know, she's done the liver reset. I think she's doing the liver reset, or she's done the adrenals. Actually, we expedited her adrenals because I was like, you need energy. Like you just need energy. Right. But, again, that's where consultations come in, where we even
individualize it.
Right. And she's like, you know, it's low and slow. She's like, this was a lot slower than working with other doctors, but theirs was like, you know, I felt good for a month and then I was right back to square one. And she said, with you, it's low and slow, but constantly increasing and constantly improving.
Yeah.
And that's not us. That's nature, right? Because we heavily advise on food. Food is the medicine, because food is the chemistry of the body. Right. Right. Like and when people come to me and they're like, what supplements do you recommend? And in my brain, I'm like,
there's no magic pill.
There's no magic pill. It's just, it's a supplement. It's called a supplement for a reason, right?
We're filling gaps.
And so it's not the answer. It's just a bridge. Right. Right. And the landmass is the nutrition.
But it's such good experience to have feedback, you know, that
it was awesome.
That feedback. Because I'm fairly new to this game of being a consultant, but I'm thoroughly enjoying getting this feedback.
You're getting a lot of feedback from your people doing the liver reset.
Oh yeah.
And they're just, they're feeling so good after it, huh?
Yep.
And they're like month 1 into their healing protocols, right?
Right.
So, anyways, you guys, low and slow. You know, slow and steady wins the race.
Right. And when you've had months or years of disappointment or not meeting the expectation of healing that you thought you should be, even just making these shifts and seeing it within that first month, it is such a vast difference that it is motivating to continue down that path. Right. And so it's possible, you know, for those that are struggling, it's definitely possible.
I do want to end this episode on, because I feel like this can be a heavy episode, you guys. Yeah. Super heavy. And
we didn't get into the
I don't have the
emotional.
Well, and I want to touch on that really fast, because I'll be honest, I have never dealt with infertility. I did deal with insane PMS before I got pregnant with Tennyson, and I can see the dysfunction. I ate a lot of carbs, overworked my body, you know, but I mean, I still have my 2 babies. But I want to just really end on, like, you know, where thoughts go, energy flows. Be gentle with yourselves. Okay. Like retrain some of those old tapes in your mind that might not be serving
that inner voice.
I think that's potentially one of the hardest parts of the healing journey, right? Is you're doing all the right things, but you're saying to yourself all the wrong things. Now, this isn't to blame you and be like, well, that's why. No, guys.
You're not the cause, right? Most definitely not.
Like being gentle and loving towards yourself and giving yourself so much grace through this.
Again, those tribal women, right? Their stress level is down because their demand is lowered, right? They're given the healthier food, the best cuts meat, the highest fat, the cream of the crop. Right. So we need to offer that grace to ourselves.
Exactly. And let's say you're doing everything right, and you're healing left and right like a freaking badass. Okay. And after years, you still don't have that child. All right.
Yeah. Breathe.
Give yourself so much grace and recognize, like, you did everything in your power. Like just transforming your life, transforming everything, you know, creating a new baseline, right? Because that's what you're doing, right? You're creating a new baseline of health and living. Like that is not an easy thing to do. No. So please recognize the power that you have within yourself and the power that your body has, and just be gentle, be really gentle with yourselves. Okay. I think that's it. I wish I was a psychologist. I wish Tristan was here. He'd say something really wise
and profound
and so
that was
profound.
Though. And it's true. You're not alone through this. Get a tribe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Get your tribe.
Get community and set those boundaries with maybe toxic people that are in your lives. Yeah. That's a big one, which is really hard because it could even be family members.
Oh, right.
So, totally. You know, the naysayers, right? Thoughts go, energy flows.
Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with really good energy people, I guess.
And good
woo-woo
food.
People.
Good people, good food, healthy environment.
People who do drum circles with you on the full moon. Just kidding. I don't do that.
Right.
I want to. I want to get my own drums.
There's groups of women that meet here in Utah County.
I know.
They do singing and drum circles.
I've just been too busy. I want to join those.
Anyways. My kids should also be in the wild and free clubs, but
there's wild and free clubs.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, didn't you know that being a homeschool mom is cool now?
Oh, right. I'm still on the fence of that. I think we're homeschooling, but I need to find a tutor.
I've been homeschooling. I'm OG. All right, 6 years in.
I need to talk to you.
I'm pre-COVID homeschool mom.
No
when
kidding.
It wasn't cool.
You are the OG.
No,
I haven't been able to figure this out because Tristan's been gone for like a week. So did we even say where he was?
No.
Oh, we didn't tell people. So Tristan's gone, in case you couldn't tell. But but he's in Hawaii. He's at a meditation retreat doing his own drum circles.
Lucky
and
dude.
Meeting with shamans. I don't know what he's doing, actually. It's from what I know, and I know very little. There's no technology, so I can't even talk to him.
He's disconnected.
And that's been really fun because running the company and like making decisions and what the really crappy thing. Okay, guys, I'm just going to talk personal life right now.
I don't know.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. That didn't happen yet.
I want to get a cat so bad.
We'll update you later.
Because he'll be so mad. He'll hear in a few podcast episodes be like, so we got rid of the cat. Just kidding. His heart's too sweet to just get rid of animals. Sweet. So what was I? Oh, but the hardest thing is Tristan has set up all these accounts online, right? And we don't know how to access
all this stuff.
Well, we don't know how to access them. And so it's asking for like security questions.
Oh no.
Like favorite car and this and that. And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know these things.
So we're getting like locked out of all of these accounts and like bank accounts.
This is really important stuff.
And I'm like, I can do hard things. So Brittany, our office manager, and I are we're just trying to figure this out as we go.
Right. You're like, how many days? How many more days?
Oh, he's got like 7. He comes back on Saturday. So
that's insane.
Yeah. So
but you made it this far.
What's that?
You made it this far.
You know, it hasn't like crumbled yet. And so when he gets home, I want to be like, babe, we did it all by ourselves. We figured it out.
We're locked out of like 6 accounts.
So we're going to need 6 passwords. But other than that, everything's fine.
We're all good.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I'm looking forward to the shaman coming back. Tristan. When I mean the shaman, I mean Tristan.
Right.
He's our little shaman. So, and I'm sure everyone listening right now totally misses him because he is kind of the life of the party, and he's just a good soul.
Well, and I fear that like the Gutsy Health members aren't asking the harder questions on purpose.
I know,
like,
right?
They're kind of holding out until he gets back.
When he gets back.
And I'm like, no, really, we can
do this.
We can do this.
Right?
But he's so fluid with it.
I know.
That, you know, he makes us all jealous.
Like he writes like little essays, like to a simple question.
He's like, well, you know, you hear like the keyboard.
Right. Totally.
You know, like,
totally.
I can just imagine it. As he's grinning, he doesn't even have to like double check online.
No, he doesn't. No, he's a little encyclopedia all by himself.
That's enough praise for Tristan because he's on vacation and you're not. So
can you guys tell I miss him? That's why I'm just waffling on about him.
I'll just come over and give you a hug. I know it's not the same, but find your people, right?
Most people have switched off by now. They're just like, okay, we're done. Bye. So
Well, it was a little hangout at the end. It was nice.
Exactly. We got to hang out with you guys. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thank you.
Anyways, love on your hormones, love on your body, love on yourself. You can do hard
love
things.
on each other.
Yep.
It's a fertility podcast. But like
I just
every
got
other
that.
day, okay? Not every day.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Allow for that sperm count to be really robust. And
Drink your minerals.
Drink your minerals.
Get some sunshine.
There we go.
Whoop, whoop.
And be happy.
And listen to the other podcasts, guys.
Exactly.
Because you're going to get so much from it. Look into the membership.
Or rate us, review us.
Ooh.
They're going to be like, they waffle too much at the end.
Yeah, but you know what? I haven't even done a review yet.
Katie.
I know. I'm bad
Come
friend. I'm a
on.
bad friend.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Goodbye.
Until next time.
Love you.
We love you.